what's happening to Biden, and that is his age or his mental acuity. Before this sort of cognitive story about Joe Biden started to come out and be talked about more often, I had no idea what the word acuity meant until then. So I learned the word by covering this story. But at the headline, you can see Biden's age and fitness tops the list of voters concerned in this news poll. I'll read the subheadline. The latest NBC News poll shows 76% of voters are concerned about Biden's age, compared with 61% have concerns about Trump's legal concern. Now, you might be asking yourself, why in this subheadline are they comparing concerns about his age with legal? Because that's the only number that would come high enough for Biden. Right. That is comparable, or for Trump, it's the only number that would come up high, because if he's talking about mental acuity, the numbers are reverse. Like, it's absolutely reverse. But I do want to bring up a clip first before we read a little bit about this article, Lee, and that is Jesse Waters. And I don't use Jesse Waters clips as informative. I use them more as comical, he
has one of the best comedy shows on television.
Exactly. Like, he's not to be taken serious. So make sure you understand, he's not going to be taken serious. But a person who is not serious, what does he do? He covers unserious stuff like mental acuity of Joe Biden. So let's watch this, maybe the first couple of minutes, because this is where we actually get to see footage of Biden's mental acuity. And I want to talk about it on the other side, about the poll number and why corporate media is pretending that why is this number so off from Donald Trump? They're only 3 years apart. They're pretending not to see what everybody else sees. But let's listen to Jesse Waters real quick.
Yesterday, the media declared that the Biden presidency was in peril. And today, Biden proved why. He was asked about hostage negotiations in Gaza. Listen.
There is some movement, and I don't want to, well, maybe choose my words. There's some movement. There's been a response from there's been a response from.
Now, this is meant to be a more lighthearted, funny story, but I must say something a little bit serious. It's not meant to take away the funniness, but if this was a person in real life, Lee, a relative, a friend, or even a stranger, a person like this, you would take extra care of. You would not make the head of a country. You know what I'm saying? You would go, you would help across the street. You would go, oh, do you need some help? Or, you know what I mean? You would understand to have more patience, because they're slower in their speech. They're slower in their cognitive understanding. We elect him as president. But go ahead, Lee.
I like him. I think that he is the perfect representation of the U.S. empire. Him and Donald Trump. The system has vomited these two guys up and put them in our face, and they are the perfect representation of what this empire has become. On one hand, it's a orange-faced, lying megalomaniacal, borderline fascist who, racist, who is at the end of his own mental acuity string, just out for himself. And on the other hand, it is all of those things plus a fading, dwindling ability to even function in a real world way. So I think Biden and Trump are the perfect, just a beautiful, you couldn't paint a better representation of the U.S. empire at this point.
I must say that is absolutely accurate. I can't think of any other representations of like what our leadership, like if someone was to say, why is your country so fucked up? Why is everything so, and you just show them these two pictures, they'll go, oh, Oh,
Right.
okay. That's the kind of thing. That's the kind of reaction I think we'll get. But let's listen to a little more of this Jesse Waters segment, just so we can get a larger grasp of the condition that Joe Biden's in, because it bears the question. Now, and think of this question. I would say to the audience as you're watching this: who's really running our country here?
The opposition. But yes, I'm sorry, from Hamas. But it seems to be a little over the top.
So that's right there the reason why he's dodging the traditional Super Bowl interview. Even softballs from CBS are too risky. And now a new NBC poll says 3/4 of the country say Biden doesn't have the necessary mental and physical health to be president.
That's a big number. What do you think, though, about the Super Bowl? Because he had a good reason last year, and I must admit, I don't know who's in this. I haven't been following sports ever since the pandemic. But last year's Super Bowl, I don't want to come because it's on Fox. So he had a culture war reason. It's on Fox, and I'm protesting Fox. It's not on Fox. I think it's on CBS, or it's not on Fox. If it's not CBS, it's on somewhere else, and he's still not going on. Now, we're talking 150 million people. The debates, maybe at the most 15, 20 million. So you're talking 8, 9, 10 times the amount of views, and your poll numbers are low in 6 of the 7 battleground states. Why would you not go on a platform like the Super Bowl to get your message out, unless you're afraid of your mental acuity? Do you have any opinion on why isn't he doing more press conferences? Why is he retail campaigning differently in smaller venues instead of larger ones? Why is it all these different things if it's not the mental acuity? What's your opinion?
No, of course it is. It has the mental acuity of a mannequin with a burlap sack over its head facing the wrong direction. I mean, they know he can't answer even a remotely difficult question. He can't answer an easy question. I mean, you hear the questions that the journalists are asking him, because these are largely handpicked journalists. And they're trying to give him little softballs. They're like, what do you think of what's going on in Gaza? And even these, he often is tripping over. He's trying to make jokes that no one understands. And you watch him now versus him 20 years ago. I mean, he was still a maniac, but he had his shit together, man. That guy could talk. Like, him in front of Congress, he would talk for an hour and people would get bored and they couldn't shut him up. But it is night and day. This is a dwindling. This is a flashlight where the bulb is just barely flickering on and off, and you're searching for the batteries because you only have a minute left before this thing is out. And that's what he is. But of course, what Fox News won't tell you is Trump is equal. His mental acuity is equally on its last minutes. It's just in a different way. He happens to be able to speak better, and he happens to be a little more witty, but it's all really loose for him as well. But also, I think what's being left out of these conversations on Fox News, CNN, et cetera, these polls, is that these guys are largely figureheads. I mean, it's not that they can't make any decision that wouldn't be pivotal, but the military-industrial complex continued essentially as it was before Trump, during Trump, after Trump. There's a lot. The 90% of what the U.S. goes on without the actual information getting to Biden or Trump or whatever. This is a massive empire with 800, 900 military bases around the world trying to hang on to its dwindling hegemony. And these clowns at the top don't matter that much. I mean, they matter a little here and there. They make a decision here and there that might have some influence, but it ain't much.
That is so very true. And this also speaks to the whole idea of a uniparty. When people say, like when they say, oh, Biden's policies did this or didn't do that, it's like, do you understand? put that in last month, and Fox News is trying to act like it did this or it did that, and CNN and vice versa is trying to. It's like, no, this is the minutia of just the establishment, regardless of who's at the head. These institutions will maintain the empire just as if the same way. It's there would be no difference. Now this segment, I am warming up to something, and that is the response to the from about his mental acuity from the press secretary. If you haven't seen it, it's something that is kind of going viral today. So let's listen to a little more, and but it ends up at the Karine Jean-Pierre reaction to this.
President.
Oops, there we go.
On Sunday, the president said he just met with the French prime minister, who's been dead for 30 years.
Right after I was elected, I went to what they call a G7 meeting, all the NATO leaders. And I sat down and I said, America's back. And Mitterrand from France looked at me and said, you know, why, how long are you back for?
Biden sees dead people. But don't you dare ask Binder about it.
How is President Biden ever going to convince the 3/4 of voters who are worried about his physical and mental health that he is okay, even though in Las Vegas he told a story about recently talking to a French president who died in 1996?
I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole with you, sir.
What is
We're
the
going to
rabbit hole?
Go ahead.
He said
Go
he
ahead.
talked to Mitterrand.
Go ahead. You saw the president in Vegas, in California. You've seen the president in South Carolina. You saw him in Michigan. I'll just leave it there.
Saw him and still in peril.
So clearly, even the establishment feels like, hey, there's some lines here. There's some, come on. That was sort of the reaction I got from Karine Jean-Pierre. But another question I have, and you can kind of give your final words on this and answer and speak to this question. Do you think he's going to debate Donald Trump? I don't see how he's going to debate Donald Trump. But go ahead, Lee. Final words and your thoughts on a debate between the two.
I don't know how they're going to get out of it, but I don't picture them ever allowing him on a debate stage. Also, we talked earlier about the rift in the ruling class. There's a rift in the ruling class of the Democratic Party as well, who see that he is not fit to even be, like I said, he's kind of like the president is kind of window dressing for the U.S. empire. He's not even fit for that. And they're seeing that, and they're talking. I think there are definitely discussions going on about whether he should really be the one on the ballot. And, it seems they've been grooming Gavin Newsom or something. But now they seem to be going down the primary path as if he's going to be the one on the ballot. So I have no idea what they think they're going to do. I do not think they'll allow him on a debate stage, though.
Yeah, and I mean, I think his name is Chuck Todd. A couple of months ago, he has already previewed that he doesn't think he said, and it didn't go. We covered it, but it didn't go too viral when he said he was like, I don't think he's going to debate. He's like, why does he need to debate? He's the incumbent. Just like other incumbents don't debate, he's like, I don't see him debating whatsoever. But let me read a little bit of these headlines before we close out this segment. I almost forgot about these. But I said this part. Actually, let me get to the snippet that's from the article. So this is from this headline: Biden's age and fitness tops voters list of voters concerned. Poll finds. And here's the snippet. 3/4 of voters, including half of Democrats, say they have concerns about President Biden's mental and physical health, according to the latest national NBC poll. That compares with 61% of voters who have concerns about former President Trump's multiple felony charges, and less than half of the voters who have concerns about his mental and physical health. Now, I must say this part. This is a propaganda tactic that they did here. You see, we're talking about mental health. They don't have a number that's equivalent to how terrible Joe Biden's is for Trump. So they have to insert something that's completely irrelevant, but it's has a high number, and then they come back to the topic. That is something they do a lot with Trump, and I pointed it out many times in segments. So they're doing it here again. This last part of it gets into the actual numbers. In the new poll, a combined 76% of voters say that they have major concerns or moderate concerns about Biden not having the necessary mental and physical health to be president for a second term, compared with 24% who have either minor concerns or no concerns, which is the 13%. That is an astounding number. I don't know if any president has ranked so low with mental so-called acuity. I've never really knew that they took a poll of that up until Biden has become president. But just a couple of other headlines here. Here's one. I won't be doing any reading of the articles, but here's another one. 59% see Biden in mental decline. So this is a different number. So the number of 76 is just, mental acuity is off. He's saying this is a different poll saying he's declining. He's in an active decline, which is not a good thing. This other headline, twice as many voters think Trump has the necessary physical and mental health to be president compared to Biden. And I think I got one more. Voters, Biden is losing it, and the media are covering it up. And the final point I have before we switch out, and I'll get your last point, and that is, to your point earlier, Trump mental acuity is bad too. It's just a different type of bad. Like,
Yeah.
Trump's mental acuity is bad because of a lot of things. I mean, from being privileged all his life, so he thinks it's supposed to be a certain way, to being just dumb. Like, he's just dumb, uninterested in information, not wanting to learn. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different mental acuity than Biden's. But I don't see him. I just can't see any scenario that he can win this race in the condition he's in. Like, if you don't do debates, how are you going to change your numbers? Like, what can he do to change his numbers if he can't campaign like a normal president? There's no pandemic, so he doesn't have that out. But your final words on this topic, sir?
I mean, yeah. Could anyone imagine Joe Biden like driving a car? Like, imagine if he was driving and you were in the passenger seat. Like, how white knuckled would you be? Like, no one can picture him driving a car, yet we're all supposed to believe he runs this country and he's capable of running this country. It's so laughable. But of course, Trump is his own brand of horror show. And this is what we're given, as if they're different, as if they're two separate parties when it's really ruled by the corporate state. And, of course, there are amazing people running for president, like Cornel West and Claudia de la Cruz and Jill Stein. And none of those will be allowed to be on the ballot in every state, nor get barely any media coverage. So you have a corporate media class that is just pushing these two buffoons down our throats. And it's sad because it is representative of what America has become, and it is horrifying. But I guess to give some hope here at the end, it has to do with the global South standing up and fighting back, and BRICS, and the ability of so many of these nations to now stand up to U.S. hegemony in one form or another. The support of the ICJ decision, saying Israel's committing genocide, or at least there's enough evidence to keep that going. Yemen, attacking ships headed for Israel because they're not willing to put up with genocide. So, there is hope around the world. It's just not coming from those two morons.